All right, we're live. You know what I mean? I know it said like 69 minutes or whatever when you guys hopped on, but I just put that there because, it's like a safety net just in case we don't start on time. We have a safety net. But now we're here, we're live. Dan is here. And that was a that was one of the craziest events because every fight ended in a finish, Dan. Do you enjoy those types of events, finish after finish after finish? Or do you like fights that last for 15 minutes and they're grueling and tough to watch?
Nah, it just depends how it plays out. Like I enjoy just a fight you're able to follow. Like for mine, my favorite fight was the Jeff Neal versus Vicente
Mhm.
Luque fight. Like when it's like high level fighting when like two fighters have to constantly adjust, and we saw that. Like Jeff Neal, well, Vicente Luque was pressuring in. Jeff Neal was
Mhm.
like intercepting him with a straight left hand, which he was just walking onto. So he made a good adjustment in the second round by taking that half a step back and then fighting from kicking range, which essentially takes away that intercept left hand that kept catching him. Then obviously Jeff Neal started coming forward with it and pressuring a bit more in the third round. So it's like an adjustment every round, and it's like a fight that you can follow too. Like it's like easy to follow. Like those kind of fights entertain me anyway. Like the main event, they're just kind of yeah, like just a bit messy at times. Like they're good. Don't get me wrong. Like don't get me wrong. Like it's good to watch, but nothing keeps me more entertained where like there's two high level guys like constantly having to adjust. Like yeah, but like messy fights, like good to watch, and your average Joe like sits there and he's clapping his hands and stuff like that. But yeah, they don't really keep me as like hooked into the TV. Is that the same as like commentating when you're like commentating a fight and it's like a good fight and it's back and forth and there's adjustments and it's easy to sit there when it's high level and like read the two fighters. When it's like just two guys trying to hit each other, it's actually quite hard to commentate it because you're like how do you explain it? Like
Mhm.
it's just two blokes, like the main event is just two blokes kind of trying to punch each other in the head. Like there's not much you can say about it. Like it is what it is, and you could hear Santos's corner saying less less bar brawling and more takedowns.
For real. I think that's exactly what he said, right? You're not in a bar fight. You're in a cage.
and
You're
a,
competing.
and a, at points it looked like it.
Mhm.
I've seen more technical bar fights in a couple of those rounds. Like, but it's good to watch. Like, if you're an average fan, it's quite good to watch, right? Like two guys swinging, like they can relate to that. Everyone's seen a bar fight once or twice in
Yeah.
their life.
And probably been in a few, you know what I mean? Like that's what it is, right?
Probably,
That's part of
yeah.
life. Like you need to at least get into one bar fight as an adult to be an adult, right? Like that's the rules that they made.
That's the rules they made.
That's the
Well,
rules.
I've definitely been in a fair few more than one, so I think I've got enough on my tally. If I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, when you look at Santos, right, and if you look at his performances throughout the years, the reason we love him and the way he fights is because he gets into those bar brawl type of
Oh,
fights from time to time. You know what I mean? And that's what he's known for. That's what excites us. That's what gets the fans paying attention. And I think in this camp, most likely that's what they told Santos, like, hey, you can't get caught up in those bar brawls. And that's what the corner advice was, the same exact thing to remind him. And then he switched it up, right? Is that when he switched it up to get the takedowns? That was a
yeah,
second round,
yeah.
I
And
believe.
then I just feel like he just went overboard. Like the takedowns could have been timed a bit better. Like he just kind of started hitting the spam button, right? Like he was just spamming shots. And it's like maybe if that was like the fifth round and that's like all you had left as an option, that would probably be a better option. But like there was still three rounds to go. Like that was not that was like it was a little bit early to lose your composure like that and just start like spamming the shots and wasting energy on like failed takedowns. Like if you would have kind of calculated that a bit more, like timed those takedowns a little bit better, he probably would have had. No, like from mine watching the finish, like he purely just got finished because he like gassed out, right? Like he just
Yeah.
his body, and I'm not saying you can't like recover from that, but it's credit to Jamahal Hill for turning up the pace at the right time. Like he sensed that Santos had kind of hit a wall and he was trying to fight his way through it, or just needed who knows how long, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds of like some ground time just to get his wind back and recover and push through that wall. But Jamahal Hill like timed it perfectly and just put the pace on. But yeah, to mine, like it's not like he was hurt so bad like his body shut down. His just like, yeah, it's hard to understand unless you've been in that exact situation where like I've been in fights like very early in my career where like holding your hands up hurts more than getting punched in the face. Like that was like my second or third fight like I ever had, and I remember being in there, and I remember the feeling of being that exhausted, where the other guy's like hitting you, and you're just like your corner's screaming at you like, "Put your hands up, put your hands up," and you're just like, "Oh." Like it feels like you've got like you're holding like a boulder,
Like the
it's so
strongman
heavy,
competition.
like it's so I'm like it's too heavy, and you're just like this hurts so much. You put them down, and the guy keeps hitting you in the head, and you're like, this is actually not that bad. Like I can live with this. Like this is so. It's hard to have actually been there. You know what I mean? Like if you've never been so tired in your life that getting punched in the face hurts less more than doing this, like it's very hard to relate to how Santos was feeling at that moment.
That's kind of funny because like last Friday I went to sparring, right? And then the second round of sparring, my shoulders were just blasted. Like they just weren't working anymore. My hands would not go up because, like when you put your hands up, your shoulders are pretty much carrying all the brunt of the weight, right? So when I put my hands up, I'm just like, what the hell's going on? They just come back down, and I'm just getting lit up. Like, because my hands, like, rest of my body works. It's just my hands won't go up because my shoulders are just fucking blasted. Like,
Bro, it actually just happens sometimes, like in training, like something will just be, whether you did like a workout earlier in the week or something happened or injury or anything like that. But it actually just like, you've heard fighters say it like, man, I just got in the ring and my legs weren't there. You know what I mean? Like it genuinely happens. And it's not till you like actually step in the ring for like something you've been training your whole life for, and you're like, I can't feel my legs. Like this is not a strong start. Or like that exact moment where it's all right in training. Like I'll go to sparring and I'll just be like, oh man, my left shoulder's a bit, I might have to switch southpaw. Like when you're a bit more experienced, it'll make it easier. But when you're young and you go out to fight and you're just like, whoa, I can't hold my hands up. Or like, man, my legs are shot. Before the fights even started, like you see it in guys like early fights, and I can see it because I've been in those exact situations. That's why I can like read their faces. Like, the guys that have like their first fight or second fight and they waste a ton of energy on the walkout, and you see them like high-fiving their mates and they're dancing and stuff like that. They hop in there, like I'm just standing there smiling because I'm like, yeah, I know what's about to happen. The guy will get in the ring, the bloke will get in the ring, jump through the ropes, and he just gives me this look. He just looks over like, and he's like, it's a look, and he's like, I'm already exhausted. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like, yeah, I know, but there's only one way you're going to learn this lesson. I could tell you 1,000 times till I blew in the face, or you could actually go out there and learn it for yourself. So it's like, don't, like, I always tell guys, however fit you think you are, like, oh man, I could go, 3 2-minute rounds or 3 3-minute rounds. Like, however fit you are, like, the moment you step a foot in that cage or the moment your legs go through those ropes, like, instantly you've got one fifth. You've got 20% of the energy you thought you had. So if you thought you could go 3 3-minute rounds, like you step in those ropes, like you can go like a minute and a half, and you know what I mean. So that's why I tell guys like you need to get like 4 or 5 times as fit as you think you need to be for that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? If you can do 5 rounds in training, you need to be able to do 20
Yeah.
rounds, 30 rounds in training. Like it's just, it's funny, man. It's funny how that cage works. Like like the adrenaline, the lights, the pressure, like it zaps 80% straight out of you, straight out of your arms, straight out of your legs, straight out of your gas tank. It's crazy. Like it's crazy how it works like that.
Yeah, it just seems like Santos has, after that double knee surgery that he had, it just hasn't been the same for him. You know what I mean? Like he's suffering from the Jon Jones curse. If you look at the last four opponents Jon Jones beat, Gustafsson, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes, they haven't had very good luck after fighting Jon Jones. You know what I mean? They've had, none of them have won the title, and I don't even think none of them have fought for the title. Oh, Reyes, yeah, Reyes. Did Reyes fight for the? No, he fought Jones for the title. Yeah, so none of them fought for the title since. They just had Jon Jones. That's what I call it, the Jon Jones curse. You know me, I like to blame Jon Jones for everything because someone said that you want to blame because I blame Jon Jones for the sponsorships. You know what I mean? Like the big sponsorships not coming to MMA fighters anymore, and people say shit about that. And
He really did. He really did fuck up Nike there.
that's why Nike don't want to fuck with the UFC.
Really
Just gonna
tanked
throw that there.
Nike with that
Yeah.
pregnant chick thing.
Yeah, that was bad. Anyways, yeah. So what do you do with Hill, man? Hill definitely has a lot of potential, but some holes in this fight, right?
Yeah,
I'm
he's
thinking,
just young, man. Like what?
yeah,
He was like 10-1 coming into like 11 pro fights is like crazy. Like I got in the UFC with the 11 pro fights. Like for him to be main eventing with 11 pro fights is crazy. It's crazy. It's like very cool to see. But yeah, it's like no going back. I don't like from the skills I've seen, like and Santos is a top quality fighter, and I feel like he handled that quite comfortably. Um, the only real trouble he was in the when Santos started just rapid fire shooting, but he didn't like 100% defend every takedown just because he knew that like Santos was using too much energy, and he knew it was like that he had composure to know that it was a 5 round fight, and Santos couldn't keep it up. Like he just knew that Santos couldn't keep that up for 3 rounds, and he couldn't. We saw that he spanned the takedowns. What that 18 takedown attempts in a round. Um, you just can't do that, especially a guy that's not like a pure wrestler. You know what I mean? Santos
yeah,
has been a striker for predominantly his entire career. Like for I understand you can do like a training camp where you're just doing a lot of takedowns and getting a lot of reps shooting takedowns, but it's not the same as having done it since you were a little kid throughout your whole life. Like it's very easy for a wrestler to fall back on that. It's very easy to fall back on what you know, and as soon as you're in a fight and you like we saw it when he was really gassed, he's got went back into bar brawl mode because you stick to what you know. When you start hitting the wall and you get cornered and you get exhausted, you stick to what's worked for you for most of your life, and that's big punches for Santos.
yeah, Santos and with Hill, man, I know people want to catapult him up and put him against someone with a big name, someone that is probably fought for the title or is about to fight for the title or something. They're going to try to push Hill. I still think he's pretty raw. I still think he needs a couple more fights, you know what I mean, against top 10 guys, not like a title eliminator or anything like that. But, if they give it to him, he's going to take it and take his chances because that's what you do as a fighter. But
Yeah,
AMAC,
like there's like pros and cons for the position. Like I understand what you're saying, like a couple more fights but what really could he add to his game? Um, it's like it's pros and cons because obviously you have like another 2 fights to build up, like a guy down the rankings or even like equal in the rankings. You're just showing more of your cards. You know what I mean? Like you're showing more of your game. You're spending more time. You're showing your tendencies. And the reality of it is like that's what's dangerous when you get to like the top echelon in the sport is everyone knows your cards. Everyone knows your tendencies. Everyone, so like the less he can show people, and it might actually be more advantageous towards him that like less people know his tendencies. So it's like move into that title shot realm or get into those big fights and earn some big paychecks before he really starts showing people all of his cards. So I get it, a couple more fights to work on things, but he might be showing his cards. I think there's pros and cons to both routes.
Ahead of the fight, I guess people were body shaming him because he doesn't look like a typical like
He's not
jacked.
but he's not even in like bad shape. You know what I mean? Like I saw it. I saw it. People are taking the absolute mick. I like, yeah, I don't get it. Like as a fighter, and even myself, like I'm never dieting or like eating or doing an exercise or putting my energy to be like, oh man, I'm gonna look good on the poster for this. Like it never goes through my head. Like you just like eat the food to make the weight, do the training to get fit for the fight, and you just look like how you look like. Like if that's what he looks like, then who actually gives a shit? Like GSP is this is years ago. I'm talking a decade ago. I read an article for GSP, and he's like, yeah, like I lift weights sometimes like out of camp and stuff, but I know what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it to look good on the poster so I can sell some tickets. Like I'm not doing it to make myself don't convince yourself that you're doing it to make yourself a better fighter. Like if I do a little bit of bench press and a few bicep curls, it's to look good on the poster. Like don't get me wrong, like I'm not I'm doing it to sell tickets. I'm not doing bicep curls to become the best fighter in the world. You know what I mean? So if Jamahal Hill doesn't want to waste the time and energy in doing that, then like more power to him.
Yeah, that's great. Well, there's no typical looking fighter. There isn't. Like back in the day, the typical looking fighter had a beer belly and just went into the bar. Like we go back to the bar
Still
bros
does.
stuff.
Like still does. You go to like Tyson Fury, Fatal. Like I come around when Fatal was the GOAT. Like everyone looked at Fatal as like the baddest dude in the world, and he's just like this podgy Russian dude who's like bald and doesn't ever smile. Like it's not like it's not. It just isn't what you like. Your average person thinks it is. Like they look at a bodybuilder and they think, man, that guy is. But like the reality of the situation is like you need some fat on your body to to pad when you're in a fight. Like you need some fat in between those muscles to you know what I mean? When you're dry and shaped and ripped, like it hurts when you get hit, trust me. Like if I could go into a fight with a bit more fat on me, like I would absolutely love it.
Remember when you weighed in at lightweight? Or when you weighed in at featherweight, and everybody's like, "You look like the guy from that, the thing. What was that? The geometry? What? I don't even know what it's called. Like you were so ripped, like you could see all the muscles and shit. Yeah, that thing. They're comparing you to that, and that was funny.
Yeah, feel like absolute dog shit. Do not feel good. Look good. Tick. Feel good. Feel horrible.
Yeah. Well, that shows you don't body shame Jamahal Hill, man, because he might not look like you want him to look, but he probably feels really good heading into that fight. And he went in there and
he's fresh. Like he's fresh. He's confident in himself and his skills. Like he pieced up Santos. I feel he like won that fight quite comfortably. I think he's ready I think he's ready. Like he's got not many miles on his body. Like I think he's good to go.
Yeah, and he took some heavy shots, man, and ate those shots and walked forward.
Even in the finishing sequence, Santos fires back like 2-3, hit him clean in the temple, clean in the chin, like, and he was absolutely fine. You know what I mean? So it's just like a feather in his cap. Like he doesn't tend to rely on it so much, which is good. Like for a young fighter, not to like rely on being able to take a punch, but when you have to bite down and eat some shots to get a finish, like he did well. Hats off to him.
Yeah, so when you look at the rankings, you know what I mean, that makes sense for someone like Jamahal Hill. You got like Dominic Reyes is sitting there at number 7. Um, Anthony Smith, I think he's injured, so you probably won't be able to match him up. You got Jan Blachowicz, because if Yuri gets what he wants, he's gonna fight Glover again. And secrets word on the street is that fight's going to happen. I'm just saying I heard some stuff. Okay,
Well,
I heard some
Champ
stuff.
Picks, like he's already come out and called for that fight, and
Yeah,
like the reality of the situation, if the guy with the belt is pushing for a fight, chances are he's going to get it done. Like a lot rides on like who the belt is, gives you an advantage to pick who you want next. Doesn't really make sense for me. Like a finish is a finish in my book. Like no one's ever going to go back and watch the fight. They're just going to see the 10 seconds of you finishing the guy, and you can just move on. So maybe it's just something in himself that he feels like he can do a lot better, or it would have to be that he feels like he really fought poorly and he can do a lot better than that. For him to want to get out there and have a rematch with a guy like that.
yeah. And come on, guys, you don't have to. I know he's not like Jamahal Hill's not in the best shape, but you don't have to go at his tattoos. You know what I mean? He might have got him when he was too young. Who knows? Don't go at his tattoos, man. They could have been mistakes. Anyways, what is it? Yeah. So even like Jan Blachowicz, you know what I mean? You got Jan Blachowicz that's ahead of him. If he's ready, I say if he wants it, push him to Jan Blachowicz, push him to Dominic Reyes. I think Dominic Reyes would be the better fight.
I think that's a good fight. I think that Dominic Reyes, it's kind of up to him and where he wants to go. I feel like Dominic Reyes, like that's two young prospects, and like obviously Reyes is, they're in like similar situations where they're pretty fresh in the game. That's like a good even matchup. But if he wants a title shot and he wants it ASAP, then Jan Blachowicz is the way to go.
Definitely. What do you think about that matchup? I think, to be honest with you, I'm gonna like if I had early picks on what would happen, I say Jan Blachowicz beats Hill with what we've seen today. I say Jan Blachowicz. Dominic Reyes, that's a better fight. That's a closer fight. Stylistically, a much funner fight to watch, I think. Yeah, I think that's the best option, but we'll see where Dominic Reyes is. We haven't seen him in a while.